All right, so this is 7F, and this is the second half of the notes. There's synthetic division. I'm going to start off with why. Why do we do synthetic division if we have long division? Well, synthetic division is a lot faster, so it's much faster. And then why? It actually only works well. I mean, it can work with just like long division, it can work with every single division problem. Sometimes it can have fractions though, but if the divisor, what you're dividing by, divisor has just a variable plus a number or a variable minus a number. So there's no coefficient in front. There's no coefficient in front of the x. Then you can do synthetic very easily, very quick, and let's get started. So we have example 1, we're dividing. Just like long division, we have to make sure our exponents step down from the biggest exponent and it goes down by 1 every time. Well, this clearly doesn't. So I'm going to rewrite this as x to the third. We're missing the x squared term. We're also missing the x term, which is to the first, and then it's minus 64, which you can actually write it as an exponent also. So you're seeing your exponents go from 3 to 2 to 1 to 0. Awesome. So that's what we're going to do first. Second, now this is where synthetic comes into play. We're going to look at our coefficients. So 1, 0, 0, and then negative 64. So those are our coefficients. And how we set up synthetic division, we actually do like a backwards little L here. And inside of that little L half box, we're going to put what you're dividing by. But instead of putting x minus 4, we're actually going to change this to opposite. So instead of x minus 4, you'll have a positive 4. So it's the opposite. And what we're going to do is we're getting rid of the variables. So you're going to put a 4 in there, and then each one of these coefficients are going to come down. So 1, 0, 0, negative 64. That all is coming down. So the 1's coming from over here, the 0's, and the negative 64. Make sure that signs are there. Okay, so that's all set up for, now it's all perfectly set up for synthetic division. I draw a little arrow to go down. What this does is it allows me to have some space underneath the coefficients. And the arrow I draw down to remind myself that that first coefficient will automatically just come down. All right, now let's start the actual division, which is not really division, it's the opposite. So instead of dividing, you actually are going to multiply. So it's 4 times 1, and that's 4, and you're going to put that into the next, right below the next coefficient. And instead of with long division, we subtracted, we're actually going to add here. So we're going to add, and you're adding 0 plus 4. Let me put that in highlighted. So 0 plus 4, and that is going to go down below. So 0 plus 4 is 4. And we're going to start this process over again. You're going to do now, what's your opposite, the divider. You're going to do 4 times 4, and that is going to be 16, and that will go up next to underneath the next coefficient. And now we're going to add again. So 0 plus 16 is 16, and now we do it again. We do the process again. So we go with 4 times 16, and that's 64, and now we add again. Negative 64 plus 64 is 0. This means our remainder is 0. Great. So that means x minus 4 from the very beginning is a factor of x cubed minus 64 because it has a remainder of 0. But the actual dividing part, the answer, is going to come from, you look at the very beginning, we are taking x cubed minus 64 and dividing by x minus 4. If you look at the first two terms here, we have x cubed divided by x to the first. And think about what that would give you. That's going to give you x squared. So our first term down here, and again, these are coefficients. So we're going to have 1 from here, x squared. Now we're going to go down by 1, so it's going to be 4 is our next coefficient. The x is going to be to the first power because they have to step down from 2 to 1. So the exponents have to go down by 1 each time. And then plus 16. Now you could say x to the 0, but x to the 0 is 1. 1 times 16 is 16. So we don't need actually x to the 0. You do need x to the first because x to the first is x, and 4 times x is 4x. So we do need that. And then it has a remainder of 0. So your answer is right here. We could actually simplify this a little bit further and just type 1 times x squared is x squared plus 4x. You don't need to the first, and plus 16. That's going to be your final answer. That is what you're dividing there. All right, let's look at our second problem. So we have exponents go from 3, 2, 1, and then it's the constant term, or you can look at it as it goes to 0. All right, no skip terms. We look at what we're dividing by. It's n plus 5, so what we're going to put in our little backwards L is opposite, so negative 5. I guess you could think of it as that's the solution if you did something like this. So you're actually putting the solution in. You're acting as if it's a solution. You could look at it that way. Looking at our coefficients now, we have 10, 50, positive 54, positive 18, and negative 2. So we're going to put those. What we're doing is we're eliminating the variables. Variables can be kind of confusing sometimes. So we're eliminating them. Bring down the 10, give ourselves a little space because we're going to put numbers in underneath those coefficients. And we start the multiplication. Negative 5 times 10 is negative 50. And now you add. And that'll be a 4. Now you do negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. So that goes up above. And you add. 18 plus negative 20 is negative 2. And now we do the process again. Negative 5 times negative 2 is positive 10. And we add. And that'll give you 8. All right, let's look at the very beginning. We have, look at your biggest exponent or your biggest terms, your leading terms. We have n 10n to the third divided by n. And if you're simplifying, it's really about the n's. N to the third divided by n, this will give you 10n squared. Really looking at the n squared. So our first number here is going to be the coefficient's 10, and your variable with exponent is n squared. It's then going to step down. It's a positive 4, so it'll be plus 4. N, it went from n squared, so it'll be n to the first. I don't need the 1 there. And then it'll be n to the 0. I don't need n to the 0 because n to the 0 is 1, and 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. And then it would have a remainder of 8. So you can say a remainder of 8. I think even a better answer would be 10n squared plus 4n minus 2. Remainder doesn't mean a whole lot, but when you put something like a positive 8 over what you're dividing by, then it has an impact. We know that as a fraction. So I personally like the fraction better, but know that it is a remainder. So I like 8. It's 8 left over of the n plus 5. And those are your notes. Thank you. Thanks for listening.